Okay, so here we're making another request. The difference about this one is that this is not a value, you'll see. These were values up here, but this is a function that takes a string and then returns a value, which is a command. So that's a little bit new. But we're building a request. It's going to be a post, and the URL now is dynamic based on the value of that ID. So we're passing in a string URL, and we're using this plus plus, which is a string concatenation operator, to add the ID onto the URL. And then we are expecting the same kind of JSON we always have, the cart contents, which is a list of products, and we're sending in with credentials. And we're going to use the same message we used before, cart change, because when you add the item to the cart, we want to get the new cart contents and update the UI with it. So save the file. Let's see if it works. Yep.
Good question. So that after HTTP dot request, you've got the thing in braces, which is a record.
Correct.
I think.
Yep.
Do you have to specify all the fields?
You do.
To be the right type?
That's right. Okay. And that's part of the verboseness of verbosity of Elm, is at the cost of writing more stuff. It's also pretty simple because you know that whenever you're going to require a type, you just have to give everything in. Unfortunate and fortunate at the same time. Now let's see if it works. Did it work? What's going on? Oh, we haven't updated the config again. That old config, check it out. So what are we going to do now? We've got a function that takes a string and returns a command, but we haven't hooked it up to anything. So what do we do here? Down here in the config, there's this thing that's called onAddToCart. Now this is expecting a function that returns a message, but we don't have a message, we have a command, right? So let's make a message, and let's call that message add to cart, and it's going to carry a string, which is the ID of the product that we're going to add. Now I know that needs to be a string because the type definition for the config for Hipstore UI needs a function that takes a string and returns a message, which is exactly what this is. Add to cart is now a function that takes a string and returns a message. So let's add that to our update. Add to cart, whoopsies, add to cart. Now this is going to be a little bit different because we're not going to update the model here. We are going to leave the model as it is, and we're going to fire off a command, which is going to be add, what did I call it? Add item to cart. Add item to cart, and we're going to pass in the ID. So now we're passing in a command instead of updating the model. Yeah?
Does Elm have anything like U-types in Haskell where you can make something, instead of using a string for your ID, you can use something that's more strongly typed and is distinguishable from a string?
That's a great question, and it does not, unfortunately. It just has type aliases, so you could name it ID, string ID, but it wouldn't give you any enforcement from the compiler.
You can, however, use a one case discriminated union.
Yeah, a regular type equals ID equals ID string.
Yeah.
Yes, you can totally do that. Please keep talking while I get out my power supply.
Compiler will optimize the wrapping.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's the same thing in F# and one of those.
Okie doke, we got power now. So now we've done everything we need to do except for hooking up this message to the UI. So in onAddToCart, let's go ahead and specify add to cart, which is our new message. Save it. Oh, great, we don't have any compiler errors. Let's reload the page, cross our fingers. Oh, yes! We got it working! You can applaud if you want, because I'm applauding by myself. Come on, give me a round of applause. Thank you very much. Yes! All right, that was for you too. And but there's no rest for the weary. Let's keep going.
You only have one at a time?
Only one cart? Well, yeah.
Well, no.
Only one product.
The type to the cart.
Yeah, I think that the server uses sets on the back end, because you know what? There is only one Timmer Swartz. You can't have more than one Timmer Swartz.
So what about a classic heirloom golden watch?
Well, so these are all limited run too, because if there were more than one, hipsters wouldn't want them, right? So yeah, that's by design. Accidental design. All right, so we have made it through making HTTP requests, decoding JSON, and now we're on to the big one, which is multi-pages in a single-page app. I don't know why we're doing that. I mean, something's wrong with the naming there, or something's wrong with us. But that's what we're going to try to do, is build multiple pages into a single-page app, all right? And we're going to use routing. In other words, we're going to use some functions and stuff to change what's being shown on the entire page based on the value of the location bar. Now, if you're using React, you can just throw React Router in there and let it do its super-duper magic. But things are more verbose in Elm. Things have stricter rules than in JavaScript. So it's going to take a little bit more elbow grease. So let's go ahead and do that together. Now, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, we're going to use hash-based routing. Who's familiar with like hash-based versus not hash-based routing? Okay, I'll explain it really quickly. So when you're doing HTML stuff, you can add a hash onto the end of the URL and reload the page, and it won't, or hit enter and it won't reload the page. It'll just try to navigate to an anchor within the page. So we're going to abuse that native functionality, and we're going to say instead that when we add values after the hash, that's actually going to be like a path we're going to. That's for ease of development. If you were going to do this on a real production server, what you would do is you would establish the routes for the pages that you have in your web app, and then using Nginx or your server, you would say, when these routes are visited, always direct the user to the same index.html and bundle.js that my app runs with. So all of those routes that you're going to go to return the same stuff. But we don't want to mess with any server stuff right now, so we're just going to go ahead and build our routes using the hash-based routing so that the browser doesn't freak out when we change the hash, right? And so here's what we're going to have. /hash or / will be the products page. That's the home page. And then, I'm sorry this is so complicated, but we're going to have /hash cart, which is going to be the cart page. See if you can get your brain around the two routes. I'm just joking. That's really rude. I didn't mean to be rude. I was trying to be funny. I apologize. So that's it. Those are just the two routes we're going to use. And let's go ahead and get them going. Now, here's what we need in order to make those two routes. A type union, a new type union that, just like with our messages, right? But instead, now we're going to describe the pages that we have in our app with that type union. And I'm going to tell you the stuff, then we'll do it. I'm going to say it and then do it, and then hopefully we'll all get it together. Now, I've done this many times, and I still have to come back and be like, now, what's involved in making routing happen again? Because there are enough steps. So don't expect to remember everything on the first time. But here's what we do. We make that type with our pages in it, and then we set up parsers for each one of those routes that we can visit. Now, that parser, its job is going to be to take a string and figure out what page we're on based on that string. That's why we got the parser. So it's different from a JSON parser, but it's similar in some ways. It's turning a string into data that we can use. And then we'll have a function that takes the location and returns a page, and then a function that takes a page and turns it into a command. So the location to page is so that we can come from the URL and show the right thing. And the other one, turning it into a command, is so that we can click a button and navigate to the correct URL from within our app. So that's what we got. We're going to like map out our app, parse it, and then tie it together by clicking and moving around. So in order to make that happen, okay, we'll go over what we need to do in just a moment. Let's just get started. We're going to add a new section to the top of the app, just like we did before for requests. And this is going to be called router. And we've got a type, which has home and cart, the two pages in there.
It's not all caps.
Oh, you noticed. Router. Thanks for noticing. And okay, so that was the simple part. The easy part's over. Buckle your seatbelts, because now we're going to build the route parsers. Now here, this is going to require another library. It doesn't require it, but it certainly makes life a lot easier. So go ahead and import route, which should already be installed. It's from a beautiful man named Bogdan P. I don't know if he's beautiful, but his work is. So import route. Okay, and this is just for turning strings into routes and back and forth. It's just a route parser. Library is designed for that. So we're going to package up our route parsers in an object, and there's going to be a parser for each one of our routes. Now, the reason I'm putting these in a record, sorry, not an object, is just to keep them together, to keep them cohesive. And I'm not going to enter the type signature like the compiler will suggest, because it's big and ugly. So that's up to you. You do whatever you like there. But let's go over the syntax quickly. There's this Darth Vader face, which is an infix operator. and we're going to import that too. So import route exposing, and then in parentheses, how you import an infix operator, Darth Vader face. And here's what happens, okay? So this Darth Vader face means that it's going to associate the thing that's on the left with the thing that's on the right here. And the thing that's on the left is our page type, whether it be home or cart. And the thing that's on the right is the actual parser for the route. This is what we're using to build the functionality that says, go ahead and match this kind of string and extract information from it. Now, there are static parts of routes, and then there are dynamic parts of routes, where the dynamic would be like /product/ID, and the ID is dynamic, and you would pull that out and use it. But we're not going to worry about that because we don't have any dynamic parts of our routes right now. So I'll leave that for further study. For now, we're just going to use route.static, which is a static string. It's part of the path. And for the home page, it'll be nothing. And for the cart page, it'll be #cart. Those are our only two pages. So we built those parsers now. And the other parts we needed, the next thing we needed was a function that can turn a page, the location into a page. Now, you've never seen this location type before, but there's a built-in library in Elm called navigation, and it exposes a type called location. Now, all that is an Elm representation of the browser's location object, which has the path on it and the origin and things like that, okay? So we're going to make this function called page from location. We're going to import navigation and expose location, which I'm going to use the plugin to do. And let's go through what this does really quickly, the contents. And you can feel free to copy and paste. If you're following along and you're not typing like a mad typing person, go ahead and copy and paste from the docs. People do it and it's okay. We're going to pull the path name off of the location and we're going to add the hash onto it. So that builds up like /#cart, for example. And then we're going to pass it into match router, which we've never seen before. Okay, what is that? So match is a function from the route library, which takes a router. We haven't made a router yet, but we will. And says, okay, whatever this path is, give me the page that it matches. This one. Give me the correct page that string matches. Now, this returns a maybe. A maybe because they may have typed in a crazy, super awesome URL that we have no page to match. Okay? So we're going to use maybe.withDefault and home. So any crazy page they go to, we'll just redirect and it'll just show the home page, basically. That's just a cop-out. Probably in real time you'd want to use a 404 page or something like that. Any questions so far? Good, because we're about to make the router. Okay, so remember, if I save, it's going to say, well, a lot of problems. Wait, I thought I imported this. Cannot find variable Darth Vader face. Oh, did it get taken out? Import route exposing, yeah, it did get cleaned up. Exposing Darth Vader face. Save that thing. Okay, now it's like, oh, you don't have a router. Now the router comes from the library. A router just takes a list of routes and builds that functionality where it says, given a string, I can return a page. Okay, so we're going to make a new router here by using the router function from the library and passing in our, did I just say library? Library. And we're going to pass in our two route parsers, okay? Save it, and we're going to get a warning that's like, hey, you need a type signature, and I'm going to leave it be for now, because that can get big and ugly, and I don't care. So now, we've got that function that'll turn the location into the page. Great, we are going to use that later. And now we want the other function where we turn the page into a command for navigation. I will call it navigate2. And let's go over what the contents of this are quickly. Sorry. Down to navigate2. Okay? We take a page as an argument, and then we're going to return a command. Now you'll notice it's a lowercase message. That's because we're using this function called navigation.newURL. Now this is from the built-in navigation library. And this function, given a string, will push, it's called push state, it'll push a new page onto the history of the browser without actually changing the page. It'll just be like, they changed here, and then it'll leave it up to us to change what the user sees. And that is going to return a command lowercase message. Now, lowercase message in this case means it's a command that can be run in any app. Doesn't matter what your message types are, it can run, okay? That's all you need to know about that for now. So all we need to do is give a string to navigation.newURL and we can change the URL. The problem is getting the string. How do we do that? Well, let's take the page. Sorry, I probably just scratched the mic if you're listening on mic. We're going to take the page, and we're going to use a case statement here. Case page of, and now we have to go through the different possibilities of pages. The only possibilities here are home and cart. And we're going to use this neato function called reverse that's from the route library. And what reverse does is it, given a page and a route parser that we made earlier, it can reconstruct the string that that route parser uses. And so you got to give, okay, well, here's what we do. We use reverse, we give it the route parser, and then if we had a dynamic route, we would pass in the arguments here. But we don't have dynamic routes, so we're just going to give it an empty array, okay? Or an empty list, yeah.
Is there a way to, maybe within a list or a dict or something, set up route parsers so that that would be dynamic and you could basically pass in a lot of cases in a JavaScript context, you might have route parsers and just instead of doing explicitly delineating every single case, basically have a function that mapped the route name to it and dispatch that way or dispatch to a 404, etc. Have you seen that pattern with this kind of thing?
You know, that's a great question, and I haven't. But I've done enough routing to like get my apps done, which usually involves 1 or 2 dynamic routes and like 2 or 3 static routes. So I've never, in this circumstance, needed something that complex. Now, I have needed more complex routing in the past when working on like a file system, for example, browser, where you had arbitrarily nested paths. In that case, you'd have to get much more fancy than I am right here. But I was using Angular at the time. So I haven't done that myself. But that's a great question. And I encourage you to write something on it and get famous. Okay, so this is how this function works. Basically, we're just turning a page into a string that then we change to. Now we've got all of our parts, but they're not hooked up to anything. Nothing in the app has changed. We just have new tools to work with. So let's go ahead and do the actual changing parts, okay? And the very first step of that is going to be to change the type of our program. Now program, that's this. That's this Elm runtime right here, okay? Program, what we're using right now is html.program, which assumes that you only have one page and you're not going to mess with the location. But there's also navigation.program, which does assume you're going to work with the location. So let's go ahead and we've already got navigation imported because we used location. So we're going to go all the way down to the main function here. And html.program will be changed to html.program. My inflection was on the wrong syllable. And we're going to change it to navigation.program, okay? And save it. Now this is going to give us an error because navigation.program takes more arguments than just the record that the previous one took, that HTML took. The extra argument it takes is a function that goes from location to, or actually, yes, that takes a location and returns a message, okay? That's what it needs, and that's what we don't have yet. This wants a message to fire off when the location is changed. So we can tell here that when the user goes ahead and like forcibly changes the location in the hash, we want to be notified in our app. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. So let's add a new message type that's called location change, because we should update our model. We should update the page on our model when the location is changed. So a location change gets in a location. And so this location change right here is going to have a location in it from navigation. Now, what are we going to update on our model? We don't have anything on our model yet to update. Well, we'll make something up, okay? Model where page equals. Now, can we turn a location into a page to store on our model? Yes, we can, because we made a function called page from location right there. Boom. And we're going to pass in location. And then we won't have any effects there. So type annotation for update says it's doing something wrong. Oh, yep, we haven't actually added the page function, or I'm sorry, the page slot to the model yet, the page field. So here we do page is of type page, and the initial page is going to be, well, okay, so what are the options here? One option is that the initial page could be home, but then if they went to the URL /hashcart, the first initial load would just render the home page, which is wrong. So we want to know right away what the location is so that we can put the correct page on the model. Well, luckily, when you use navigation.program instead of html.program, the init function also takes the location as the first argument. conveniently. So we'll add that to the type signature, and we'll add that as an argument right here. And then I'm going to use Elm format to take this single line record and turn it into a multi-line record by just hitting return and then saving, and it'll format for me nicely. And I'm going to add this page field, and I'm going to set it to page from location, location. Whoop. Okay, no errors, so that's good. That seems to have helped out. But our navigation.program still has the error it did previously, which is we don't have that message passed in, and that was called location change. So let's go ahead and pass in location change. And there are no errors, compiler errors. So this is now old hat by this time, but nothing changes in the UI when we click. But if you look at the debugger, things should be, well, is that right? Things should be changing. Oh no, it shouldn't, because we haven't added all the other parts yet to change pages. I apologize. Well, we still haven't updated the UI config yet, so that's the old hat part. Let's go ahead and update. I'm sorry, not the UI config, the view. Boy, if I would stop talking for a second, maybe I could think about what I'm saying. Here, let's go ahead and update the view. Right now, you see that we're forcibly just rendering products no matter what. Now we need to render the page depending upon the value of the page slot on our model, or the page field on our model. So here, right inside of the div, we can go ahead and put a case statement. Case model.page of, and then here are our options, home, and we'll render the products page if we're home, or cart, and we will render the cart page if we are on the cart page. Let's save that. Okay, so what's our compiler error? Oh, sorry about this one. We got rid of that. What happened? Why did the message go away? Weird things are happening. Okay, what's the problem now? Did init change too? Did init revert as well? Did I hit Command Z or something?
Oh no, you haven't put the... Yeah. Your page equals...
I'm not crazy, right? You saw that too. I did type this. Okay.
I'm not saying you're not crazy.
Oh, okay, good. That's yeah, because that would be untrue if you said I weren't crazy. Page from location, location. The joys of live coding in front of everyone else. Okay.
I have a very good question. So I'm not seeing the 2 items listed on the button at the top. Did I miss?
No, you didn't. What you missed was the fact that I've been working on this locally, so I left 2 items in my cart. I apologize about that. Very sharp observation. So now if we navigate by hand to /cart, we should get the right page. And we do. So this is great. This means that the router's working. This means that the location, the initial location, is in fact getting set on the model, and the view is responding appropriately. Now, the problem is none of these buttons for changing location work, and that's because we haven't used the function we made earlier, where we take the location, where we take the page and turn it into a new location. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we will do that. Let's look at the Hipstore UI right here. Okay, on-click view cart, right? On-click view cart and on-click view products. That looks like what we need to be using to change the correct pages. But it looks like those take a message as their argument, and we don't have a message for changing pages yet. We have one for like reacting to a location change, but not one that's triggering a page change. So let's add that. And let's call it change page 2, and then we will add page message, the page type in there. And the update function will react by saying change page to page, and it will not update the model. It will not update the model because we want the location and the model to stay in sync. So we're going to follow the pattern where we go ahead and send off this command, and this command Elm runtime will use to change the location up above. And when that location changes up above, we will get that message that says location changed, and that will update the model for us. So we're going to avoid some bugs by leaving the model alone, and we're going to go ahead and use this navigate to function that we made above. This is the one that takes a page and it returns a message. It returns a command. That's exactly what we got here, a list of commands. So change page 2. Now we can go ahead and use this message right here. So on-click view cart, change page to, and then we want to pass in the cart page. And then on-click view products, we want to change page to home. Whew! I almost typed the wrong thing.
Hey, look, it works.
Does it work?
It works.
Oh, yes. Yes, it does. Woo, woo, woo. Woo. Yes. Wait, this is great news. This means that I'm done, and you have half an hour to actually do the stuff yourself because I didn't give you breaks in the middle like I was going to again. But, okay, this is awesome. We're almost done. Problem is the nope button doesn't work because it hasn't been hooked up. And there's one other challenge that if you are willing, you can go ahead and do. So here's what I want you to do with the time remaining. I can put the code up on the screen if you like, but there's not enough to see everything. I would like to be able to walk around and give people help as they need it for the last half hour. And I would like you to go ahead and implement the nope button. Go ahead and make it work. And you can do that. You've been given the skill. You can look back at the documentation if you need to. And then if you are still done, if you're like amazing and you're already done with all those things, then go ahead and you can go to the bottom of the page here and see that there's a loading indicator that I added to the main, to the UI, this purple bar that goes across the top of the screen. Well, you can turn that off inside of the UI config by setting this to false. And I want you to go ahead and figure out how to add your own loading indicator that appears in the UI when the user starts making the request and then goes away once the request is complete. So there's your challenge if you are up for that extra challenge. But before we go any farther, everyone should go ahead and
You did a good job. Now pat yourself on the back.
pat yourself on the back, please. Thanks, everybody. All right, it's work time. Get to work. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to leave the code up right here. If you want to see another part of the code, I mean, you can always look in the Git repo, but feel free to come scroll. Well, I'm going to walk around and see if people need help.
The completed thing in the code repo?
It is. It's in the branch called finished, I think. Complete. Okay, yeah, before I go individual help, does anyone have public questions? Yeah.
So if I want to use slash routing instead of hash routing,
Yes.
is there an easy way to get that into the node dev server to allow push data?
Let's see. I think you could go to webpack config. If you've done eject, I think you might be able to define.
Setting in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think there might be, but I'm not totally sure.
So I've been doing like compiling to a JS file using running a Python web server, which is a bit of a hack.
Well, yeah, you could do that. You can go ahead and do it that way. That's great. Any other questions? All right, thanks. Enjoy, everybody. Should I take off the mic?
Let's leave it on.
Okay.
As you working, and then I mean, like, if the video's not useful, then they'll edit it, but
Okay, great.
yeah.
Well, don't say anything embarrassing if I come to help you, okay? Because it'll be caught on video. No privacy. Great. If you want, I'm going to stand right here. Don't worry. Just go ahead and work. If you need help, raise your hand. I'll come over. Great.
Compile, when I hit card, I get this, and I don't get any way to.
How interesting. So you only get, when you're in your cart, you get this?
Yeah, so.
Okay, let's go see.
Oh, jeez. What's going on? Before I had like all the products.
There you go.
Then I had the card.
Okay, that's interesting.
Oh, no, get in there. Oh, no, that's. Oh, so it is routing okay. It's the button.
It looks like your cart's not loading yet. Maybe let's go look at your init function. You did get cart. So that should be fine. Let's go look in your update. Cart changed. There you go. In the cart change, you're setting products to products instead
Oh,
of
I
cart.
just cut and paste it and I didn't change it.
It's a simple thing to
so
make.
that should just be, what should that be?
Yeah, I'd probably change all 3 of those to cart.
So this should be cart.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Really, those 2 can be whatever you want them to be named. There we go.
Oh, no, I'm seeing this. Yeah, I was going fine while I could cut and paste stuff when you actually had all the stuff there. Then you started saying, now just do this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the example to cut and paste.
It's really
I was
hard.
trying to think while you were still talking. No, I can't multitask.
Hopefully the time now will be thinking time.
I was only really able to follow along because I've done a few tutorials
For Elm.
for Elm.
Okay, good.
So I thought a lot of people, if they hadn't done those sort of tutorials,
Yeah, I think that part of the problem with the workshop was that it was designed for people who had already done basic tutorials. But hopefully some people got some help out of it. Anyone else need help? Okay. Hey, thanks for coming.
I only got my environment set up, but I'm so completely lost. I'm sorry. You did great though.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry you're lost.
No, it's okay.
Hey, if you're new to Elm, you can go to egghead.io, and I have a course for people who are brand new to Elm for free up there.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll be right there.
I'm sure it's a beginner question. But back here, I wanted to add a product to the cart.
Okay.
And it claims that my types mismatch, which is and doesn't like. So here,
Yeah.
it doesn't like this add to cart.
I'm running.
It
Oh,
says it
okay,
has the
yes.
wrong type.
Yeah, so let's go look at it.
So
Where's the UI config?
App eject, and then I'm running no scripts.
So this is where add to cart is defined.
That looks great. Let's go down to the UI config. So right here, what this is a Lambda that I had in what this expects is a function that takes a string and returns a message, which add to cart already is. So what we have here is that function wrapped inside of another Lambda. So it should work if you just go ahead and delete all that. Yep.
Oh. That's annoying. Alright.
Let's see if it worked. Does it work?
Oh well. You mean, can I actually add to the cart?
Yeah. Oh, that's unexpected. Oh, you know what? Maybe. Yeah, check this out. Products equal cart. That should be cart equals cart. So you've just
Where is
updated.
cart defined though?
Let's see.
So cart's coming in here.
Yeah. So if you haven't defined a cart field on your model
I just
yet,
updated all my products to be just
the one you added to the cart.
Oh, that's. Oops.
So here's where you can go ahead and enter the cart field, and if it doesn't exist yet, the compiler will tell you, and you can go add that to the model.
Yeah. I wish I had them working with something that told me these issues.
That would be nice.
All right, cart equals cart. So now it says that the types don't match in the case statement.
Yeah, so this is a funny error, and it's not terribly helpful in this context. What this means is that here you're returning models, and here you're returning a thing that has a field of cart, which the model doesn't yet. So that's what that error means,
So my model doesn't have.
the cart field.
It'd be nice if I could just jump to the section. Where is my model anyway?
Try searching model with a capital M.
Oh, because model's coming in.
Yeah, next. There you go. So now if you add a cart field on there, and then you also initialize it in the init, that should help a lot.
And it needs to probably have the same type.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same type.
Feels so slow.
Oh, that's okay. You should be able to hit enter, right? Because
I could, yeah.
Cool.
All right. So that.
and now it'll
that
need
gives
you
me-
to,
that now cart is defined.
but you'll need to do it in init as well.
Otherwise, what will happen if I don't?
So init is returning the type of model, but now you've got something that doesn't match the type of model because it's missing the cart field. So the compiler will say,
Oh, I see. It
Yeah.
has to, and it has to be in exactly the same order too.
In this case, it doesn't. In this case, it's fine because actually, that's a good. Somebody asked that question, and when you're defining a record, did you ask this question? When you're defining a record, just using that syntax, you don't have to have fields in order. The order is when you're defining the type. That's when it's order dependent. Is you define the type and it makes this constructor function. That's when order matters.
So if you're using the data constructor without not the record syntax, you have to get them in the right order.
Yeah, but if you're using the record syntax, the field order doesn't matter. So if you're just gonna like make a record and now I see why they were saying that's kind of weird, huh? No, I think it was over there that he said it.
It was the JSON validation that
Yeah, so
there was a question about. You have to.
that's where
validate
order
the
matters. Yeah, because that's where we're using that function, that record constructor function, which will make more sense after, like Haskell does it that way too, and so does PureScript. So that's just kind of a convention that they all use. Good job.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm coming to you.
Oh,
I'll come right back to you.
no problem. Yes, I had that for a while.
I'm sorry about the environment setup.
So, yeah, the Windows doesn't really seem to want to even install.
Okay, yeah, you're still trying to get it started, huh?
Yeah, so I get down to the package install,
Okay.
and it says it can't find the
Oh, that's
IP
interesting.
address of where it wants to get the packages from.
Really? Can
Or
you
at least
do?
they can't connect to
yeah,
it,
so
and
in
I tried to
UI
ping it, and
config,
it couldn't ping it
have
either.
this set
So,
to,
can you navigate to elmpackage.org? Or I'm sorry, package.elm-lang.org.
yes, exactly. Set that to model.car.
I wonder if you might have a firewall or something set up, or like an antivirus or something.
For the longest time, that's what it was. Model.car.
Are you having the same problem? Oh, okay.
I got it
working on Windows.
Package.elm.org.
elm-lang.org.
One thing I'm missing is all the nice icons. It's because I think Node script start.js doesn't serve
Yeah,
static
I
assets.
used this
So
at
I'm just
work,
getting
so
little
there could easily be some
squares.
firewalls.
Oh, okay.
I don't care about it.
Yeah, so you can get there. Now that's interesting. That's the only thing I can think right now is if it's having an HTTP error, it could be that the firewall is blocking those ports or something.
Yes, that's the page navigation.
Let's look at it one more time.
That's again the UI config. It's these fields on click view card, on click view.
Failed connection exception 8000 false.
Yeah, they're no ops.
Get timeout sending a request to. Yeah, so maybe Google that error and see if anyone else has done that. But I'm guessing it's like a firewall thing, and that port 8000 is blocked. But I don't know a lot about that either. I'm not sure.
Is there some way to download it directly and install it from a local?
Are you on a VPN?
Not that I know of. Yeah, do you know if you're on a VPN?
I'm using the CU guest.
Okay, then so you can use a CU guest with a VPN enabled. It depends on how your sysadmin has set up your
So I just connected in through this.
laptop. Yeah, no, that should be fine. Has anyone had a problem reaching the package index? Has anyone had the error where they do unpackage install and it says that they couldn't reach the port? No? Okay.
I can take a look.
Okay, yeah.
My question was very quick.
Let's do that.
What was the next challenge after once I got Nope working? You said something about the loading indicator. I
Yes.
have your little bar across the top.
Yeah, so go ahead and disable that by
Yes.
going to your UI config.
Sure, make that false. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a bit more of a complex problem, which is fun.
Yeah.
I want you to, like, when you start the request, before you start the request, go ahead and set something on the model so that you know it's loading.
Display something when that flag is true or whatever, and get right.
Yeah, so when the request completes, you would get rid of that flag.
So I could put a little spinny instead.
Yes.
Okay.
Or dancing baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? Questions? Yes, let me come give it to you. Here, I'll write it up here. And actually, I'll put a plug for myself too. I run a podcast called Elmtown, and you should go listen to it because it's fun. And if you do, you'll get nice coupon codes and stuff now and then. So I'll write here the coupon codes that I have, and that's for the JSON survival kit. And then there's also Daily Drip. These are the I'm giving you the magic coupon codes that I have right now. Actually, just those two. I also have one for my local meetup for the Haskell book, but we'll just go with these two. So the coupon code is Elmtown, all lowercase, all one word. That'll give you 50% off of this book, and it'll give you 1 month of one topic on Daily Drip. Okay, I'm here not just for help too. If you have any just Elm questions, I'm glad to answer them too. If anyone, I'm open. JSON Survival Kit. Just Google that and you'll find it. That's for Elm decoding. JSON Survival Kit, and Brian Hicks is the author, so we'll see.
Where are you from?
I'm from Utah.
Utah.
How about you?
I'm from New Zealand.
Oh man, I really want to go on vacation to New Zealand.
Right, yeah, it's a cool place to go.
I would love to learn more about the Maori culture. My wife and I went to Hawaii last year.
Oh, right, yeah, of course. Did you go to the Polynesian Museum?
Exactly. Yeah, we went to the Polynesian Cultural Center. Yeah, and they told us about a bit about Maori culture, and we really would love to go experience that. So yeah, here it is, and the coupon code is Elmtown, all lowercase, one word. But also he's just got a lot of great articles on his blog too, if you wanted to just read them.
Give you it free.
It's half off. I think it's normally $30, so it becomes like $15. He's a good guy. Good at writing too.
So I was going to say, do you work for a company? Do you get to use Elm?
Yeah.
Which company is that?
It's called Day One. If you've never heard of it, it's a journaling app for iPhone and for Mac, but it's also coming to the web and Android.
I'd like to learn how to do type annotations for the things that you didn't do type annotations for.
Okay, great. Yeah, let me come sit next to you.
Cool.
You should check out Day One if you are interested in journaling. I mean, it's coming to Android later, so it wouldn't help you right now, but someday.
Cool. So, there's Decode product.
Yes.
How do I make the type annotation for Decode product?
Perfect. So, follow this pattern a little bit. You could just go ahead and type decode product.
Right.
And get your colon there. Yep,
Yeah.
Great. So here, this is all one value. It's not a function. And that value is going to be of type. Actually, here's a great way to find out. Go ahead and put any type in there, like int. And then save. And the compiler will tell you what the type should be.
Oh, JSON.decode product. I could do that?
Close. Now you're missing. Yeah.
Is there a way you can automatically do that for me?
Yes, if you're using Atom, you can install Elmjitsu.
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, you already do?
Yeah.
Okay, so delete that. Save it again.
Okay.
And then there should. Okay, yeah. So now you should be able to do Command Shift P and say this linter elm make. If you haven't installed that, install linter elm make.
I have it.
Okay, quick fix. That's weird. Save.
Save it, and then linter elm.
Yeah, just type quick fix all.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh wow, that's nifty.
So most of these features were just done for fun by a guy named Irvin Ola, and he's in. Oh, I can never remember what country he's in.
Irvin Ola.
Yeah, his username on Slack is Halo Special. He's just a brilliant guy.
Ola.
Actually, just search Halo Special, and I can tell you what country he's from.
Not that.
That's not him.
I can go to the Elm.
Philippines. That's
Philippines?
yep. So
like I'm part of the Elm thing too, and
yeah, he's on here.
you could like you said
Halo special. Yeah.
I'm like gonna stuck him. And I'll be like,
I'm sure he'd appreciate it if you sent him a thanks too.
yeah.
Because
Okay, cool.
almost all of the Adam, like most of the Adam Elm stuff that you're using, came from him just doing it for fun.
That's really cool.
He's an awesome guy.
Cool. And what's your name?
My name on here is Splitting Socks.
Loading Socks.
Yeah, feel free
Cool.
to stay in contact.
For sure. I've got a Preact application.
Yeah.
It's a messaging application that I'm trying to, and it's also based on Firebase.
Okay.
Unfortunately, on Firebase, the bindings are like not that great.
Yeah.
But I want to learn how to use HTTP stuff or like at least JavaScript bindings.
Yeah.
Like with the like the Firebase JavaScript stuff. You can't really do HTTPS with Firebase these days because of like they have some stuff with that.
Okay.
Problems with that. But that said, also I have that Preact application. I want to just port it down.
So here's an interesting structure that I've been following recently that I would advise you take. Instead of trying to do Firebase and Elm.
Okay.
Now this is actually pretty. I wish I had something to sketch on.
Yeah, but like a stack. Explain the stack.
Okay, yeah. So if you're going to be doing a Firebase application, and you got Elm on the front end, what I would do here is I would plan to use the native Firebase JavaScript API and use ports. And here's what's so cool.
That's what I was planning to do.
Okay, great. So here's the structure you can take.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe we should go to the board for this.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a common misconception about ports that I'm starting to clear up for myself too. So here's your Elm application, right?
Yeah.
And then here's your JavaScript. And here's like Firebase. And so your Firebase store, like you would store stuff right here on the JavaScript side. Yeah, please do. In fact, so I'm using this structure right now, but I'm not using Firebase. I'm using IndexedDB. So stuff is stored locally and persists between sessions. Okay.
Yeah.
So here, this is where you're going to use ports. And the thing that I used to think with ports was like, okay, ports are occasionally useful. You'll send like one piece of info through. So if you wanted to use ports in a complicated way, you would end up with like 1,000 ports. But really, all you need is one port out and one port in. And so think of this as like asynchronous thread-safe communication. That's the design that it follows. Don't think of it as like an HTTP request setup where you like make a request to JS and you get it back. It's well, kind of. It's like an event-based architecture. So basically, you fire an event in this direction, and someday maybe you get an event coming in, right?
So I'm going to call it the promise returned or something.
So okay, so there.
But events, like promises, can only resolve once, whereas events come through a couple times.
Well, that's where you got to shift your thinking, because a promise resolves. Events don't ever. There's nothing to resolve. So all you've got, and this is where you just got to shift your thinking.
Or messages or something.
Event in, event in, and event out.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you can rely on. So
unlike a promise, it's not kind of like sitting and waiting. It's just kind of sends it off and forgets about it, and then.
Exactly right.
But you'll have a message or command.
Yes. So for your messages, for example, right? So your app loads, right? And your JavaScript bootstraps, and you do your Firebase authentication, and you pull in all of your messages that the user has waiting for them.
Yeah.
So here, there's going to be a message right here on the Elm side that say like let's call them chats.
Get messages.
Chats changed. Yeah, so it won't be get chats because we're not going to do any getting of them because that happened on the JavaScript side already. All we want is to be notified if the chats have changed. So then this uses that port, and this port has one data type going through it. Okay? And that's going to be like an object with a tag. It's kind of like, this is basically Redux-ish, right?
Like a payload or a type?
Payload.
Okay.
Okay? So your tag is going to be
Your type?
that right there. That's going to be the string. of chats changed.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then your payload is going to have the chats on them. Now this does get a little, the thing you need here, and where it gets a little bit wordy, is that you need JSON decoders and encoders for the things you're going to be sending over ports.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably good to have those anyway, right? And you...
For typing and...
Sorry?
For JSON decoders to type and that.
Yeah, your payload and stuff, right? So basically what you would have is this port that's coming in, and I was just doing this yesterday. This port that's coming in, it gets this object in, and it says, if I get in a tag and I can't decode the payload as I expect, I'm going to go ahead and return an error. Yeah, so I'll use the result type from Elm.
Yeah.
The result type encodes an error or a success.
Comes out of like an HTTP request kind of thing.
Yeah, so result is an abstract type.
Yeah.
So that it is used in an HTTP request. It's used in JSON decoding.
Yeah.
It's basically, you can use it anywhere where something can either succeed or fail, right? And that's what you'll use here too.
It's kind of like a promise then, like the result of a promise.
Yeah, so this is...
value of a promise.
Right, but there's no concept of happening later with a result. The result is just the result. It's not like the promise, which is saying it's a future thing.
It's to satisfy the typiness.
It seems like it's completely decoupled. Like a promise is waiting for a response. This is like, you throw it over the wall.
Yeah, and then it comes back through a channel, through the update channel.
Yeah.
Everything comes back from that one place.
Right. Yes. So that, well, actually, kind of. So in this case, this result that you get back, so you'll get in this message. I'm sorry. You'll get in a value, and you'll go ahead and decode it, and that's when you send out a message to your update function based on the value that you get out. And so what you'll do here is you'll say like, if I fail decoding this, I'm going to go ahead and show that there's an error. And that's where you'd say like, oh, couldn't load messages. Yeah. But if I succeed in decoding this with this tag of chats changed, I'll go ahead and update the model.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna like not need try catch.
Correct. That's exactly right. Well, that's the whole point of result, is you don't need try catch.
Oh man,
and
so cool.
So then right here, inside of your LMAP, here's where you've got like view events, right? So they click the send button, and once you get that send button, you build an object like this. But you give the tag like new message, right? Or sorry, new chat or something like that. So you build that, you encode the payload with the chat in it, and you send it out through the port. And then hands off. You don't ever expect a response from that, you just let it be. And then on the JS side, yeah, this is going to do the Firebase update. And then Firebase will give you, whenever it gets new chat messages, it's going to be sending you updates. Because this is how Firebase works. It gets new chat messages, it sends you updates, and then those will be directly connected to the port. So your Elm application will be updating on its own without you having to worry about polling or anything.
And I don't have to worry about like the final implementation details of the Firebase like API because I'll be using like their like straight up JavaScript like like stuff that they give you.
Exactly.
Instead of like I think with the Elm Firebase thing, they're trying to basically re-implement all of the JavaScript that comes in that package.
Yeah.
Or that like the script in Elm.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Good for them. Have fun. Yeah.
Right.
I only need the things I need and
so I think
do the things that I want.
A great rule of thumb for Elm is use it where it's helpful.
Yeah.
And don't use it, like don't try to fit it into places where it's not working for you. And it may be that at some point someone writes a Firebase library, which is fantastic.
Sometimes a bit immature, isn't it? Some of the
Yeah.
libraries.
Yeah.
One day they will complete that Firebase implementation.
One day, that'll be really
and
cool.
you'll think, what the fuck am I doing with JavaScript?
Well, and part of the reason that the Firebase implementation is weird is because it's a little bit old, at least the ones I've seen. And so there have been advancements in the way Elm works, but there's still like the web platform isn't completely covered yet with Elm APIs. Once they are, packages can more easily be written.
It was made for point 16 and also it was before Firebase 3. So.
Okay, so it's pretty old.
So,
And
sorry, on,
yeah.
on the JavaScript side, like when I'm sending an event back, am I importing like an Elm library to like make the event, or what does it actually look like?
Support, right?
So yeah, so here actually let me just show you.
On the JS side.
I'll show you right here.
So when those ports, when stuff comes back through a port and it runs, it's going to run a decoder then, right?
That's correct.
And it's almost like it's gone into it. It's going to go and do that, and then
Okay, so check this out. So here I will do, I've got this file called backend message. So do you know how ports work at all in Elm?
Just
this. Okay, so here's the JavaScript side. I pull in my Elm app and I instantiate it. I do elm.app.embed and I assign that to app, right? And then here I can get access to its ports, and there are just 2 ports: message out and message in, and I made those 2 ports. Okay, and so when I subscribe to message out, and I say whenever I get a message, I'm actually using a web worker here, which is another awesome. Ding, ding, like web workers use the same method of communication. It's so cool. So everything that you're doing here, you could be doing super heavy requests and stuff. Stick them in a web worker, and it's using the exact same method of communication. So you just send your port straight to the worker and have your worker send its info straight back out. And now you've got multi-threaded front-end processing, and you're not blocking on heavy requests, which is awesome.
So it has to serialize anyway.
Yeah, exactly right. So you don't.
Sense gonna block.
It's great. Yes. So like for example, if you're pulling in a huge Firebase thing, you might get some staggering. Not if it's in a web worker.
Wonderful.
So here I'm sending these over to the worker now. And then in the worker, when I get information, I can go to the worker. So here in the worker, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to use send tasks right here. And send tasks pulls all of my tasks out of the local forage, which is IndexedDB. And it goes ahead and it does a post message. So it's going to send those right back to Helm. Now, this is a web worker thing, post messages. But back here in index, did I get rid of it? I think I did. Message in, that's the Elm thing right there. So I'm saying, okay, when I get a message from the worker, send it straight to Elm. Okay, and then inside of backend message, this is all the heavy lifting stuff right here. This is where I say, these are the messages that I can send out, and that's create task and edit task, and it has these types. And then I go ahead and I do some encoding on those. So I JSON encode them and I send them out. And then here are the kinds that I can get in. My message in, the only kind I have right now is task changed. So the only message that I can receive from JavaScript is that my tasks have been updated. This is a to-do app, okay? So I can get in those new tasks and then they get decoded. And here you can see that subscribe to backend messages is a function that I expose to the rest of my app. Now this takes a message in the case of success, like, yeah, I was able to go ahead and decode stuff, and a message in case of failure. And then it'll return a subscription to messages. Now we didn't talk about subscriptions today, but subscriptions are a thing in Elm which they'll go ahead and call your update function for you whenever they have new values. So a port coming in from the outside is a subscription that calls your update function with new values.
So it sort of goes into the runtime, sort of back out again and then back to the update.
Yes. Okay. So the port goes basically straight to the runtime. And okay, hold on. Let me think.
It goes into the runtime and runs the decoding functions in that, and then it sort of does a sort of a bunny hop back into the update function.
Yes, because what you do is right here inside of main, inside of app, subscriptions. There's this run. The runtime takes this attribute called subscriptions, and that's where I say subscribe to this thing. So what actually happens is the runtime gets not a message, but the runtime gets a value. It gets data, and then it goes ahead and it calls the function that I've told it here, which is subscribe to backend message. Right? So it'll go ahead and it'll do that decoding and unwrapping that I defined in the other file, and then it'll call the update function with the correct message. Yeah. So hard to remember right now all at once, but that's a pretty neat pattern. And so you can, pretty much anything you have to do JavaScript side, if you follow that pattern, you're going to end up in a good place for performance and also for keeping track of what's going on. What I'd like to do though is this file right here is pretty heavy to write, and so I would love to eventually come up with some kind of like JSON or YAML thing where I can like define my messages between JavaScript and Elm and generate the Elm types and decoders, and then also generate TypeScript types. Like that would be awesome.
So we're going to say there is some sort of thing out there, isn't there, already for doing generating the Elm.
Yes. It's called JSON to Elm.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of thinking left to do there because, like, what if you want to do custom decoders, for like a product type? Well, how do I get that into my JSON, and stuff? But that is right now the way I'm doing it. I'm using TypeScript on the back end, and so it's redundant because I've got my TypeScript type that defines the thing I'm working with, and then my Elm type, and they can be separate. That's fine. Like maybe they have different functions, and they do. In the app I'm working on at work, the actual data types that I have in TypeScript are necessarily different from Elm because I have to work with different information on the TypeScript side than I do on the Elm side. So on the Elm side, like my type contains the info I need to render stuff. On the TypeScript side, it contains the info I need to sync to the server. And so it's okay that they're different.
You work with PureScript at all?
Yes.
Do you have any opinions about when one might be better, Elm versus PureScript?
So I chose to use Elm for the UI stuff over PureScript because of the simplicity, and because I felt like at the time it was more production oriented and less experimental. Because PureScript Halogen is awesome, but I feel like there's a smaller base of people who are actually using it to do production things. I think it's like, yeah, this is pretty awesome. Like, let's experiment. Even though I guess it's based on React. Halogen is. Yeah. Thermite isn't.
It seems like the tooling in Elm is much more mature, like the debugger and that kind of stuff.
Some of it is, some of it isn't. They both have their pros and cons. But one thing I really liked about Elm was it's very focused on like, let's be productive and safe. And so your packages don't just break, whereas they do in PureScript because it's still pretty experimental and they're working on stuff.
Well, and it's also based really hard on NPM, I think.
Or
Bower.
Well,
But they're working on
right,
moving.
yeah.
They're working on moving off.
It's like
They're working right now on making an experimental implementation of a package manager that's more like Elm package. So that's good. But just for me, like, I really like PureScript a lot. But I opted for the simplicity and the stability and the production-oriented methods of Elm for this. Because also it's a lot easier to onboard JavaScript developers onto Elm than it is to PureScript.
PureScript doesn't have this architecture thing.
There are libraries that implement this. But another frustrating thing was, like, once again, the small number of people using it. The library that I was using called Pux that implements this architecture, I was doing pretty simple stuff and I kept running into cases it didn't support. And I had to go in and, like, hack the source code to do what I wanted it to do. And the one maintainer would, like, get around to merging stuff, like, every few months. So you just let it pile up and then he'd, like, merge it. So I was running my own fork and always, like, modifying it to do what I wanted it to do.
Whereas, Elm, you always use this architecture. It's
Yeah,
built in.
you can't do anything else.
No.
Which is great. Like, unless you hate the architecture, then don't use Elm. But if you don't hate it, the great thing is there's just one way to do it. There are lots of ways to do the smaller parts of it, but the overall architecture is always the same, which is pretty cool, I think.
very cool.
Thanks for attending today.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man.
You're welcome.